Hello, my friends, and you are my friends, and do not adjust your sets. The Cruncher has saved the day. Martin's given me 5 minutes notice. Can somebody host the show? So I've literally rushed around. I've made myself a coffee. I'm here. The chat is lively. Thank you for everybody that is tuning in tonight. I've not got any idea where this show is going to go because I've made no notes. So I am hopefully going to rely on George and Lewis to come in and sort of help hold my hand for the next 60, 70 minutes. But I'm sure we can, in Talking Town style, we can... Hello, Nunny. How you doing, boy?
Hello. I usually come on here for some high-class conversation. What are you doing here?
Exactly. I'm asking myself the same question when 5 minutes ago I was sitting outside.
I don't come to my sauna on a Monday night.
I was just literally in the garden. Oh,
who's that the second one?
I know some feedback. Is that you, Lewis? Hello.
Hang on.
Yes. Yeah, it was Lewis. I was just having a nice chill in the garden, George, having a coffee. Thought I'd tune in and watch you lot, and then I got the.
Well, now here you are.
Break glass in emergency. How are you? You're in your new. Is it outside office?
I'm in my sauna. Yeah. I still haven't. I apologise for the sound. My dad was moaning at me about the sound on Saturday from last week, so I apologise.
How did your dad and your boy enjoy the game Saturday?
Yeah, I think we all ended the game not really knowing how to feel about it. I haven't watched the show from yesterday, so I don't know what the general consensus was. But
I think a lot of people I've spoken to have got the same sort of feelings, and
it's weird. Honestly, I don't remember feeling like this before, but for a long time at least, I didn't know whether to be grateful for a point, feel like we'd been robbed of 3 points, or whether a draw was a fair result. It was a weird one. I thought it was a weird one, but that's probably opening day of the season, so I'm not reading too much into it or taking too much from it. But
I said to Martin, so my main take, George, from the game was how fit we looked.
Yeah.
Compared to where we were last season, because we remember the Morecambe game and we scored a late goal, and I remember Raheem Harper that game, and the first probably 3 or 4 when he played, he looked great for 45 minutes, and then the tank was empty. So it was nice to see that we were strong. We obviously had ammo off the bench, to change the game, and I think the subs they all did really well, didn't they?
Yeah, I agree. I thought he used the subs well. I thought he did what we'd sort of said that might happen, which is he used subs early and multiple subs, which was good to see. And I thought the strength off of the bench was real positive. I thought Sonny probably had his one of his weakest games for us in the.
Probably the only one, George, who didn't really get in the game, did he? He didn't really influence it. Whereas he was on a little bit later, I know that, but you've got to say that Greg Lee and John Jules, when they come on, I
thought John Jules looked a real player. Yeah, I'm excited about seeing more of him. Hopefully.
I see Sam Morsey was saying today that he thinks it could be his breakthrough season. Do you think at the minute, though, he is your impact sub?
I don't know. I think based on what he looked like he could potentially do on Saturday, I'd chuck him in there. I think he looked like he gave us a bit of a creative spark that we'd maybe been lacking for up until that point. I didn't think Chaplin did too much wrong, but I didn't think he was as exciting as he can be. I thought, up to that point, I kind of felt like we're missing. I'm not going to say a Selena, but a Selena type. What Gav Sutton said.
We'll talk about him.
We'll get there. But what Gav Sutton said, that he's a bit concerned that we're missing that sort of creative spark. And to be honest with you, and I think a few of us said it. We're not really sure we agree with that, and maybe that was through blue tinted glasses. I think on Saturday maybe we saw until John Jules came on. And because maybe Aluko was having a bit of a quieter game when he did come on. I did wonder.
He says no Selena talk. We will get to it. I see Mike D in the chat says they get Edwards in because he didn't make the bench, did he? If you look at the strength we had in the stands, shows where we are at the minute as a football club. Are we working now, Lewis?
Yeah, quick change of rooms should be okay.
Fantastic. How are you anyway?
Yeah, not bad, boys. How are you?
Unfortunately, Lewis didn't make it to the statue in time, George, Saturday to get a Cornish pasty.
Cornish pasties? I didn't get a Cornish pasty.
Colin, why did George not make the list? Can you please in the chat inform me?
Shoot my hand as well. He didn't give me a bloody Cornish pasty. Miserable sod.
I'd heard he got me one and it wasn't there.
He had got one, but he said that it had been out too long and the time was ticking. So he gave it to Tux when he came along, and Tux didn't really like it. He said, not really. So Andy and Colin they'd already had one each, I think, so they sort of split it in half. And Coxie had one as well. There you go. Coxie was on.
Well, I know where I am in the pecking order.
Colin says he hadn't got enough. I did tell him that was why he used so much fuel on the way back from Cornwall. It was weighing his car down, Right, so Lewis, what did you think Saturday? What was your takeaways from the game?
I don't think we would have got anything out of that game, certainly beginning of last season. So, battered for the first... Well, I say battered. We were pinned back, weren't we? They put us under a lot of pressure. And I think we showed a fair degree of resilience. And then second half, I know it's been covered a lot, but just missed opportunities. Not necessarily clear-cut chances, but just that final touch in the final area or decision-making. We got a little bit ragged, didn't we, at times as well? People taking shots on that weren't really on. But, some, overall encouraging signs. And Bolton are a decent team. And as much as their manager said, not many teams will come to Ipswich and take anything. I think we have to look at the fact we've played a team that I certainly predict to be top 6. I think in the predictions you were quite hot on them, weren't you, Rich?
I've got them from. If you look at the second half of last season, boys, they were one of the better teams, and obviously they'd done the double over us, beat us 5-2, didn't they, last season at home, and 2-0 up there. So, and they've not really made that many changes to their sort of squad. I see in the team of the weekend, George, that Trafford made it as the goalkeeper, and I see a lot of sort of chat on social media, people saying they weren't really impressed with him. I thought he had a couple of dodgy kicks. I was quite impressed. I thought he'd done quite well.
Did you? I thought it was shocking. And not just because of his dodgy kicks. It just looked like his decision making was awful. I bumped into a mate of mine in the stands after the game, and I said he's going to cost them more points than they lost today this season if he keeps playing. Maybe I misread it, but I didn't think he was good at all. I thought he looked shady as hell.
Yeah, well, he done a great save, didn't he, from Lee Evans, had that header going in the top
corner. One good save. That was a great header as well, to be fair.
And then obviously the save from Sam Morsey, which he probably shouldn't have even been there to look. We discussed it yesterday.
Anywhere else, but yeah.
We had the still, George, from he was like 8 yards out, centre of the goal. One of them things, It was hard for me over Morsey's performance because I thought, other than there you go, look. Could have put it anywhere. Could have picked his spot. But
he could have. But he's got a guy covering the right hand side of the goal from that angle, and he did all right. I mean, I was more frustrated that I had Morsey to score any time and Burns any time assist, and Ipswich to win. So I would have won a few quid if that had gone in. But it was it's one of those things. It was. I'm not sure that you can. I'm not going to be changing my prediction of Morsey to get a few goals this season based on that.
We did discuss this. He won't get 10 goals. Not missing.
I don't think the point of that conversation was never that he's going to get 10 goals, but who's the most likely to surprise us from midfield with 10 goals? I think
if Sam Morsey gave you 6 goals, Lewis. If Lewis and George, I'd be happy. 6 goals. Lee Evans can chip in a few. Great finish Saturday. I will ask you both in a minute about what you thought about the free kick that he took second half. Shades of Quillan Edwards. But if they can all chip in, I think, look, goal scoring for me is the only thing that little worries me about the team. If I look at Peterborough Saturday, George, away at Cheltenham, 2-0 down at half-time, they come back and they win 3-2. They score goals all the time.
Yep.
Sheffield Wednesday, they'll score plenty. That's the only thing about Town is we play a lot of good football. I think we all agree with that. The football's really easy on the eye. Just need that clinical touch in and around the box.
We do, and we need to stop overplaying it slightly from the back as well.
Yeah, Wolfie and Fridge got nearly caught a couple of times, didn't they, Lewis? Sort of messing about with it when they could have easily took the easy option. We
got a little bit lucky, but I think that's something we're going to have to get used to. I think under McKenna, that's the style he wants to play. He wants to be progressive from the back. I mean, when we lost it in such a key position, it just reminded me of when Wolfie lost it to first home game of last season when Stockton ran through and scored. It wasn't quite as bad as that, but I think it's part and parcel of how we're going to play. And actually, when it works, it looks fantastic and we cut through teams. And even on Saturday, there were times when we played the ball through, beat the midfield through a decent sort of step forward with the ball out of defence, decent ball into the middle. I thought Sam Morsey's passing on Saturday was really good. Quite a few times he switched it out to Donatian. And that's a side of him I think is sometimes overlooked. With Lee Evans, he can spot a pass, he'll ping a pass all day long. But with Morsey, I was really impressed. Quite a few times he found particularly Donatian out on the right and at times Greg Lee second half out on the left. So, yeah, there's definitely signs we're trying to play football. And is it a case of they've done a lot of training, they've been working on keeping the ball, and as the season progresses, that kind of level of urgency and concentration as well, because I think concentration is a tough thing, the mental side of it, and a couple of lapses on Saturday, but I don't expect that to happen very often. And we can focus on the missed chances, but actually, considering we played Bolton, who are a decent team, even when they were on top, they didn't create very much. And I still stick by my prediction that we'll be in the top two for goals conceded, the least goals conceded, come the end of the season, because I just don't see teams opening us up. They got a penalty. Yes, it absolutely was a penalty. But other than that, didn't create much, did they?
No, Christian Walton didn't have a save to make. And it was, I said yesterday, George, about Afolayan on the left there, and he was giving the crowd a little bit and they were giving him a little bit back. For 20 minutes, he was in the game. Mm. But then I thought, second half, he was substituted. You wouldn't have even known he was on the field. We were so much on top in that game. And getting back to Sam Morsey there was times where that ball, George, is like a magnet to him. And he's so strong and he's twisting, he's turning, and you just cannot get the ball off him. And he proved to me, first 20 minutes, Town were poor. Now, Sam Morsey's our captain. I think he sets the standard how we play. And I think if he continues to play like he did for the majority of that game, we'll have a really good season, because I thought, other than the miss, and anyone can miss a chance, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He was the best player on the field by a mile.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that, to be honest with you. I think he did well. I think he just as you say, the passes, and as I said, the passes that he picked were outstanding by and large. Didn't feel like he gave the ball away an awful lot. I'm not going to get drawn into it too much, but I still think he covers an awful lot for Evans when Evans played. I didn't think Evans had a great game, and I know that's not going to be popular because he scored a goal and he nearly scored a goal.
He was poor before we scored, wasn't he, Evans? And then
I thought he was poor before we scored, and I didn't think he improved massively or enough after we scored, to be honest. I thought he had a purple patch for about 10 or 15 minutes and he nearly scored a carbon copy goal. But let's be honest, as I said, that's a training ground move that I suspect any one of three players that could be playing in that position have done.
Interesting.
250 times.
I see this morning it was a Bolton feed on Twitter. So there was a good angle on that goal, guys. And Ladapo plays a really good part in that. And he's got the goalkeeper's arm. On the blind side of the referee, there's a defender there and he's there. He's definitely got hold of the goalie, but no one's seen it. And it's obvious they worked on that, I think they said on Thursday. So 3 corners in, we had over 250, I think, last season. I think we scored, 2 goals. So it was nice to see that something we've worked on under the coaches. Like I said yesterday, Lewis, that last season you had Franny Jeffers. No disrespect to Jeffers and Roberts, rookie coaches, And Kieran did say it was virtually impossible to get, in any sort of football, you won't do anything if you can't score from set pieces. So getting onto set pieces, both of you, I said yesterday, the free kick that Lee Evans took, second half, you know, when you're in a ground and you sort of anticipate what's going to happen before. I knew he was going to do that. I thought, you don't know whether you're going to cross it. You don't know whether you're going to have a shot. And in the end, it was almost Guion Edwards standards, but not quite as high, George.
Go on, Lewis. You have your say. Everyone knows my thoughts on Lee Evans.
Yeah, it was. I was pretty much in line with him where I sit in the Bobby Robertson lower, so I was facing him on. I couldn't work out what he was shaping up to do, and he had one in the first half, and I could see the goalkeeper was trying to cover off the near post, and Evans just knocked it into the box. I think it got cleared. I can't remember now. But with that one, you could clearly see he was always going to cross it. And with this one, his body position just wasn't quite right. And I don't know. He got lost between trying to whip it. I can't explain it. I have no idea. And you can see his frustration afterwards. But do you know what? Overall, our set pieces have been a lot worse than they were. I know we got the goal.
They were quite good Saturday, I thought.
Yeah.
They improved.
On both sides. Chaplin took them on one side.
Yeah.
Evans took them on the other. Yeah, I mean, Evans had an absolute shocker with that free kick. There's no covering it up. But, yeah, and I wonder as well, I've forgotten his name now. What's the goalkeeper from Manchester United who's now first-team coach? Lee Grant.
Lee Grant.
I wonder if he played a little part in the Ladapo getting in front of the goalkeeper. Because as a goalkeeper, that's almost impossible to defend, isn't it? In the same way as players making a run to block other players off, which I think also happened to free up Evans. Was it maybe Fridge? Didn't foul the player, he just stood in his way and there was no getting around him to get over in time. But yeah, just little things like that, like you say.
It was definitely a team goal.
Yeah.
That's all part and parcel of the game, you know, that blocking someone, you see it a lot of times when there's goals. You know, you don't have to be directly involved scoring, but if you're moving somewhere, you're blocking a defender, you're blocking the goalkeeper, you've played your role in that goal. I know it doesn't go down as an assist, but you've played a big part in that goal, Lewis.
It doesn't happen if those two moves, one from Ladapo, one from Edmondson, plus it was a decent ball from Chaplin, because he didn't just roll it over, did he? He drilled it along the ground. And Evans, I think, after the game said in his interview, he just had to make sure he didn't put too much on it, which, considering the free kick, is quite ironic. But he didn't, did he? The ball did the work. That was drilled in. He just had to get a good connection. I think I'm almost quoting him now. But, you know, like you say, players all played a part. It was meticulously planned. It was well executed. And it nearly came off in the second half as well, didn't it?
We needed that.
Yeah, and the corner immediately after that, which was a header, was a phenomenal header from Evans as well. And I haven't seen Evans' interview, but he's doing himself a disservice if he said that all he had to do was get a good connection, because that finish coming across him at that pace and to hit it behind him effectively and at an angle, and to keep it down relatively is a hell of a finish. Fair play to him. It was a cracking finish, but
could easily have gone over the bar, couldn't it? If he hadn't got over that, he spoons it. And it's right like Mike says. I don't know if you remember Spurs, George, used to do that, Darren Anderton and Teddy Sheringham, several times in the Premier League from corners like that. And teams never sort of worked them out. It was obvious that they'd do it at least once a game. But there was like the one in the second half, you say, Lewis, where we tried it again and he's connected with it and it's a good block. But we really needed that lift of that goal, George, at that time, because it was quite flat. Going towards half time, you're thinking we're probably going to go in 1-0 down here. And then that gave us the lift for the final 10 minutes of the first half. And then obviously when we came out, we were a totally different side after half-time moment.
Yeah, and that's more or less what we've been doing in pre-season as well. And I think that at half-time, that was one of the things I said to my dad, was that it was a little disappointing that we didn't come out with the sort of impetus that I think McKenna's complained about us not having in the first half a couple of times over the last couple of pre-season games, where, you know, he said second half has been better, or the energy's come in the second half once he's had them sat down in the changing room and had a word with them. But yeah, it just didn't feel like we came out in the first half with the same kind of enthusiasm that McKenna had said that we could expect, and he was hoping for. But the second half again was, with the goal in our belt, was was much improved, and was I think on the general balance of things, I'm disappointed that we didn't sneak it really.
Yeah, I think you have to give Bolton credit for the way they started, because they really pressed us high up the pitch. They didn't let us out. And like I said to Colin was raving about a couple of pre-season games he went to. And I think they bear no relevance, George, because you've not got the crowd so intense. The play's a lot slower. And I thought, I don't know, I'm not saying some of them players froze because there was a big crowd. That was the thing that worried me. A lot of times when we turn up at Portman Road with big crowds, we never sort of seem to play. And that is how it sort of panned out the first 20 minutes. But after the goal, it totally changed. And like second half, it was like Ian Evett said, I see his interview afterwards, and he admitted that Bolton were a bit fortunate to get away with that. And look, there was a few, would you say, questionable tactics there? You know, they're going down, a couple of them, you know, they're not injured. The young lad, Lewis, who came on, I think, at right back, he's been on about 2 minutes. He's clearly gone down near the end. You know he's not injured. He's taking the sting out of the game. But these referees, who I thought actually had quite a good game, they never seemed to do anything about it. And it was just a little bit frustrating towards the end. But then if we're in the same position, we need to be streetwise, Lewis, and learn to do them things like that.
That's the word we used so often last year, wasn't it? You know, if all the conditions suit, whatever they may be, we should beat most teams if it comes down to a game of football. But what we haven't done effectively enough over the years in League One is dig in and win the battles. Now, like I say, I think that game on Saturday, given how we started, in previous years gone by, we would have folded like a deck of cards. We did fold, didn't we, when we played them at home last year? And that plays no relevance to what happened on Saturday. But we are able to muck in a little bit more, dig in. And ultimately, the way we have to stop teams coming to Portman Road and using those kind of streetwise shithousery tactics is to get in front. And if we get in front in the game, they're not going to be doing that, are they? So, you know, I don't personally have a problem with it, because I look at it in League One, it's down to us. And I think the only team that will stop us this season from getting where we want to be will be ourselves. And the players will look back on Saturday, I think, and probably look at it as 2 points dropped. I'm not negative at all about Saturday. I think yesterday you guys were chatting about, have your expectations changed as a result of Saturday? Mine haven't at all. I'm still really optimistic about this season. I think we played a really good team who will be up there. And I think we finished stronger. And we should have won. But these, you know, final touch in the area before taking a shot and it spins away, or players getting caught offside in daft positions when they can see across the line. All of these things are what we need to fine tune. And we need to stand up to teams, because there'll be teams that come and try to shithouse far more than Bolton did during the course of the season.
Yeah,
that touch. Just touch on. I assume you're talking about the John Jules one where he took the touch with.
By the way, I thought it was
excellent.
But again,
because it's go on, Liz.
I was right behind that, and a better first touch, and he could have opened his body out and hit it with pace and power at the goal. Instead, was there two? I think there was one when it just slightly ran away from him, and he didn't even manage to get a shot off. And then there was a second one where he managed to kind of toe poke it, and it dribbled into the keeper's arms. When a better touch, and this is no criticism of John Jules. He's raw, he's young, and he was really effective coming on, and he was a positive for us on Saturday. But it's just little things like that, isn't it? It's fine lines. And for a team that we're not going to concede many goals, I think games are going to come down to fine margins. And that was the case on Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the reason I picked up on that, just quickly, the reason I picked up on that was because my son was sat next to me, and he kind of, because he was feeling the general kind of frustration from some people around us, he kind of looked at me and was like, with the touch, particularly the one that John Jules did take in it and didn't get a shot away. But what I said to him was that I was super, it's frustrating that he didn't take it. But I said to him, taking a ball at that pace with your back to goal and trying to all in one movement turn and still have it under your feet so that you can get a shot away, his only other option was to take the ball with his back to goal and try and hold up the ball and find the time and the space to get a shot away. He could have taken a better touch, but he backed himself to turn and give him the space in one turn. And I guarantee you, if he's got the confidence to try it twice in one game, that's going to come off plenty of times this season. I would be terrified as a defender if he thinks he can get away with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been disappointed if we'd have lost that game the way we played. But it was nice that we took the point we probably should have done, and now we move on. Obviously, we're going to talk with Forest Green. I will get both of your predictions for the next 4 because we done it yesterday on the show. How many points we're going to get? There is a link coming. I think Martin's got it in the chat now. So if you do want to come on and have your say, I know there's a few didn't get on yesterday. Click the link and we can get you involved. George, who do you play at left back on Saturday at Forest Green?
Davis still looked a bit jet lagged to me, and I think that was a rude awakening to League One. I'm not sure that he's played in League One before, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if I thought Lee came on and did really well, and I just thought Davis looked a bit not shaky. I didn't think he did too much wrong. I just don't think he was quite on the pace, and whether that was because of his trip or because he's just not quite up to the fitness standards that everyone else is up to yet, or whether he's just not got the game plan yet, whatever it was. I thought Lee did really well when he came on, so I wouldn't have any issue. I wouldn't have any issue with Davis playing again. I'm sure he'll get up to speed quicker playing games. But I thought it was a real good sign of strength and depth that Lee came on and was as good as he was. I thought, I turned to my dad when John Jules and Lee came on, and particularly when it was in the game, I thought that was a brave move, basically changing our entire left side in one move like that at that point in the game. But they probably were 2 of the standout players for the remainder of the game after that.
Very split in the chat, George. You've got quite a few people saying Greg Lee, and you've got Lee Anderson saying has to stick with Davis. Personally, for me, Kieran's gone out. Leif Davis is his man. They've chased him through the summer. They wanted him. So he starts for me. He's only going to get... he reminded me of a little bit. He reminded me a little bit of Aaron Cresswell. A little bit. And I just think it's harsh on Greg Lee because he's had a really, really good pre-season. And when he came on, I see him play for Morecambe, Lewis, away last season. And he kept Wes Burns quiet. I was really, really impressed with him. I thought he'd give us that extra dimension that I talked about it yesterday. Down that right-hand side, you've got Donasian, you've got Burns. So Donasian gets outside and he can go by Wes because he's a right back. He's playing that centre back on the right-hand side. Whereas left-hand side, we're still unbalanced for me because you've got Edmondson there, Lewis, who hardly gets over the halfway line. So the emphasis is on your fullback to get forward. And Davis didn't really get forward much first half, but it's his first game. Whereas Greg Lee came on, and I know the game has changed and it's opened up a little bit, and we were on the front foot then. But he really impressed me how much he got forward. He's even got a right foot as well. I know he played left back, but he put a really good cross in for Wes Burns near post that got knocked out for a corner. So it's a tough call who we go with Saturday, I think. And I think if either of them get left out, they could be a little bit miffed, maybe, Lewis.
It's a nice position to be in, though, isn't it? Only a couple of weeks ago, every single one of us, possibly me less than others, but every single person was saying that we needed to address that left wing-back area. And now we've got 2 players, and after Saturday, it's paper thin between who we go with. And I can see reasons for both. And like you say, the chat is really split on it. I wonder if... I agree on what you say about Davis, that he was pursued. He was brought in to give him an hour and then bring him out the side. He needs a run of games. I was on the show with yourself, George, and Gov last Monday after we announced the signing, when we were talking about it then, that he's a work in progress. We are not signing the finished article.
It's like Norman Greenwood says here, Lewis, in the chat. Davis looked nervous. It's like your first day at work. He will only get better. And that's true because he's only just joined, whereas Lee joined, he's probably been there 6-7 weeks and he's probably made friendships, partnerships with people. He's trained with them, played in some friendlies. So...
And Leif Davis started the game, and we've already all said that Bolton had a game plan. They executed it well in the first half an hour. So Davis didn't have the opportunity to get forward in the same way as Lee did. That's no criticism of Lee, by the way, or reflection.
Right, hang on, Gub's on at me. We've got 3 people waiting, so we will bring in, I think Louis first in the queue, so he can come on and...
Hi, guys.
Hello, Louis. How are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
tonight, did you? You thought Gov would be here, but you've got my gorgeous face instead, mate.
That's all right. It's good to meet you, by the way, on Saturday. So yeah.
How did you see the game? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I thought we played really well. I was surprisingly, I wasn't confident going into the game. So yeah, I was really happy with how we played. I think we were a bit unlucky, I guess, at the end. We probably should have won the game.
What about the whole occasion? You know, 20,000 on the ground. Great to see. I said yesterday that this is for all three of you. Wasn't it great to see the amount of young fans in blue Ipswich shirts before the game? I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think I'm just seeing that many people at the games as consistently as we have been over the last few league games has been amazing. And obviously we've made some good decisions with our merchandise this season because everyone seems to have a shirt.
Unfortunately, the red and black one wasn't available in the shop.
I know. That saved me a few quid on Friday, to be fair.
Yeah, I will get that, but I think they've run out of sizes. Going back to Leif Davis and Greg Lee, Louis, who are you going to go with on Saturday at Forest Green for the left back?
I'd probably go for Davis, probably. I mean, they both looked all right. I mean, I think Davis just needs a full week of training with us because he didn't have a full week and he's probably had to do everything, just sort of settle here, find a place to live in. He probably didn't have a lot of training last week. So a full week of training is probably what he is going to need to probably, settle into the team, start playing well. And it's only his first game. Yeah, I think he needs to run a game in this team.
That's a really good thing you say there about settling in because Sam Morsey before the game, he was saying about like last season when all these players were coming. Yeah. A lot of them are living out of hotels, Louis, and I think sometimes we sort of overlook that. We think these players, they'll come in, they're going to hit the ground running, and it's just like anybody. If they go to another area of the country, they're going and starting a new job, you're going to be nervous in your first day at work. And I thought he'd done okay. I know he got caught for the penalty, which I think we probably all agree was a stonewall penalty, but he got 60 minutes in the tank. And then it shows how strong our squad is, Louis, when you've got someone like Greg Lee who can come on and he gives you that other dimension.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And I think the 5 subs is going to help because I think depth-wise probably got one of the best in terms of depth, in terms of squads in this league, probably. That's probably what's going to help us as well. And I think he did look really good as well. I thought he looked all right considering it was his first game. And it's good, I guess, because whoever starts, I guess you can even bring the other one on as well as an impact player. So they both look good. So, yeah. I thought he did all right for his first game.
Who was your man of the match Saturday?
Morsey, 100% for me. I think Morsey is personally the best player in this league, in my opinion. Or at least one of the best players, personally.
Yeah, look, he's played in this league. He's played in a higher league, and I think he sort of sets the standard, like I said earlier, Louis, and everyone sort of follows him. And I think for the first 20 minutes, I didn't really notice him in the game, and then he sort of got on the ball more. His midfield partner, Lee Evans. So Dominic Ball, I think he's going to be back in training this week. This is another one. This is for all three of you as well. What are you doing with him Saturday? Are you keeping Lee Evans in if Dom Ball's fit, or are you going to change his partner in midfield?
I think I keep that because he did okay. I think so, but I think he's not the best at set pieces. I think that's the issue. So.
What about you, George? Are you sticking with your mate Lee Evans? And Callie in the chat earlier, no, Lee Evans is still not unblocked me on Twitter for some unknown reason.
Well, I must be blocked on Twitter, but I wouldn't. I don't follow the players particularly. But no, I wouldn't. I think Don Ball is here to play that position. And like I say, I think when Morsey plays, he spends too much time covering for him. I think Ball could very well have been the missing link on Saturday, if I'm honest. I think the decision making of Evans is what I tried to watch him on Saturday to figure out what it was. It's just not doing it for me. And I think he's just a little bit too hesitant. I'm not sure he's quick enough in his decision making for the system that we're trying to play. And I worry that he's just leaving Wolfie and Edmondson a little bit exposed and allowing them to play out too much. And I have no issue with us, the way that we play and trying to play out, going back to Lewis's point from earlier. I think it's absolutely the right way to play, but knowing when to play the pass is what I think Ball is going to stand in front of them and tell them in no uncertain terms to get rid of the damn ball. And I'm not sure that Evans does that. So for me, if he's fit, he comes back in.
Right, Louis. Cheers for coming in. We've got
Hi, guys.
people queuing up. We've got 4 people
Cheers, Louis.
queuing up. So quick. Oh, he's off. I think coming in now is optimistic. Who have we got here? Is this Dave?
Yeah, optimistic Dave.
The old optimistic Dave. You look a lot younger than the one I met on Saturday. Used to come on Radio Soft.
I think I've grown a few facial hairs since then.
How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks. I'm enjoying this stream tonight.
Well, I shouldn't have been here. I should have been watching you lot. And Martin sort of wrote me in. Not that I'm that bothered, you know. What else was I doing on a Monday night? But what was your thoughts from Saturday then, mate?
Generally pleased. I came away from the ground generally pleased. I was thinking before the game, you know, this is going to be one of the toughest games of the season. I can't think of probably more than 2 other teams that will come here and give Town a good stiff test.
Hang on, Gov. I've just got to stop you there. Gov, he said it would have been a better show if he was here. Well, go to a decent hotel and pay for some decent Wi-Fi. He's in Burton tonight. Keep going. Go on, Dave.
Yeah, I would say I was a bit concerned before the game, thinking that, you know, just thinking about the front line of Bolton, you know, Charles Afolayan, that under 21, under 23 from Liverpool, Conor Bradley, and that Man City player. I thought that they would at least get a goal Saturday, which they did. It was a Stonewall penalty. That was a penalty, and they got a spot kick. But no, I was generally pleased with the performance. I'm saying Morsey worked his absolute cotton socks off from box to box on Saturday, and it was really, really nice to see because, you know, there's shades there of Matty Holland, you know, captain fantastic. And I would say I was generally impressed with Greg Lee when he came on.
That's a big shout, Dave, comparing him to Matt Holland.
Well, I know it's only League One, but I would say he worked hard enough for it.
He did, quality player. Shouldn't probably be playing in this league, Dave, when you think about it, Sam Morsey. He should be playing in the Championship, shouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully we'll be there next season.
Yeah, hopefully. Look, I've got a bit of stick, guys, on socials because I've done the player ratings after the game Saturday. I'll give Freddie Ladapo a 5. What are your takeaways? I'll start with you, Lewis, on Freddie Ladapo. And do Town need another striker?
In short, yes, we absolutely need another striker. Look, Santos was a bit of a unit, wasn't he? And do you know what? When Jackson came on, I thought, oh, Jackson up against him 1-for-1, doing for pace every time. He shaped him up once and tried it. And Santos just read the game. He could see it a mile off. So he wasn't just a lump at the back. He did actually read the game. Ladapo, for me, it was tough for him. It was a tough afternoon. I think from what I've heard, I think he probably is better suited to playing in the 2 anyway.
Well, we did have that when he signed from Rotherham, and we had some Rotherham fans saying that he played obviously with Michael Smith. He doesn't play on his own, but we're not going to play 2 strikers, Lewis.
No, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. You know, Bolton are a tough team, as was just said. I wonder if we start to play, you know, some of the lesser teams at home as the season progresses, where we might see a little bit of a change and maybe go to 2 up top with 1 in behind. But no, I think all indicators are we're going to play 1 up top. So I think there's more to come from Ladapo. He's got a couple of decent goals in pre-season. Yes, I know it's only pre-season. I don't think we played to his strengths the other day. What are his strengths then? What do you think his strengths are then, Lewis? I think he's got good movement in and around the box. I don't think he really. There was a couple of opportunities. He got in behind once and he didn't play it into Caden Jackson. And then there was a time when Caden Jackson got in and he didn't square it to Ladapo. But most of the goals I saw him get for Rotherham were around the kind of penalty spot, 6-yard box.
Second balls. A lot of them were second balls. And they got a lot of. If you look at Rotherham, George, the way they play with 2 strikers with Michael Smith, they're direct. They got the ball in the box, and he's there picking up them second balls. Well, I said yesterday, I felt a little bit sorry for him because when you're that lone striker and you're up against 3 centre halves, it's real tough. You know, Didier Drogba's one for me who could play that lone striker. I think we're talking on a different level here, but I think it's a real hard role to play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone thinks that he or Jackson or anyone that we have at the club at the moment is in line to be our first choice striker in an ideal world. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I suspect they see Ladapo as a bit of a project in terms of turning him into. He has the attributes.
I hate that word. I hate that word when someone signs and they say, "I've come here. It's a project."
But it's not. He wouldn't have done that. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the word? Like, you want to adapt and you want to get better as a player, don't you? So what's wrong with? You don't want to come into a new job and for your boss to go, everything you've just been doing, just do that. Carry on doing that exactly the way you've been doing it. It's the last thing you want to hear. You want to come to a new job and get better and learn how to adapt to new situations that you're being put in. And if that's one up front and it's not something you're used to, but you know that you've got the skills. And like Cowley's singing about Joe Pigott being fucking bloody Kane today.
George, one for you there. Do we have too many projects though, George?
List the other projects off for me and I'll answer the question.
Come back with that.
That's a typical Gov.
Really today, what did you think of Freddie Ladapo Saturday?
For me,
keep going.
I thought it was all right. I thought it was all right. I would say it was difficult to gauge in the first half because Bolton were pressing us so much in the first 20, 25 minutes that I would say it looked like we were a team kind of choosing to play deep. And I would say that's how hard Bolton were playing on Saturday. And we just couldn't cope with it in the first 20, 25 minutes. Burnsy was just being totally marked out of the game. But what I would like to see in the next 2 or 3 games is a partnership with Ladapo, John Jules up front with maybe Harness behind in the number 10 role, hopefully supplying a few through balls. I mean, so we all know that he's got a good shot on him. So I'm saying from the goals that he scored last season, a few of those were absolute crackers from outside the area. So that's what I'd like to see.
Before you go, Dave, what changes are you making Saturday, if any, to your starting 11?
I would say, as I mentioned to you on Saturday afternoon, that I generally thought that Greg Lee would have started the game Saturday, and I was impressed with him when he came on for the last, 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the changes that I would make. I would start with Greg Lee on that left side as an attacking role, and perhaps maybe start John Jules with Ladapo up front is what I'd go for.
Yeah, if it was up to me, I'd be keeping the same 11. I want to see, like Marcus Harness. I know he had a quiet game, but we've brought him in for a reason. He can play, Dave, in this league. He's proved at Portsmouth for 3 seasons. He scored, I think, 30 goals. So anyway, cheers for having you on. And I think next in we have got Colin. I think is next to come. Come on down, Goat.
How are you, son?
All right, mate. How are you?
Son? All right.
Good.
First little word to Mr. Nunn. Right, you know when Christmas comes around and you write.
Is that when I'm going to get my pasty?
Wait a minute. You know when Christmas comes around, you write all your list for Christmas cards. You always forget somebody, and unfortunately, I forgot you. I'll make up at the end of the season. That's you.
Luckily, I just had lunch, so you're all right.
You were too bloody late. Now, anyway,
Colin, before you start, we've got Gov's put a message here in the chat, right? I'll ask you, and I'll ask George, and I'll ask Lewis. The stadium improvements. What were your thoughts on Saturday?
What, to me, Rich? First of all,
yeah, you first.
Yeah, well, obviously the dugouts are more than decent. Everywhere look
very good, very good. Because where I sit, I can now see in the corner, Colin. I can now see down by the tunnel end in that corner. I don't have to get up too much out of my seat because they've moved them back. So yeah, very good.
I'm pleased to hear that. Yeah, like I was going to say, Rich. Yeah, so yeah, dugouts look good. Outside of the ground looks smarter. You know, they're smartening up the top of the turnstiles and all that. All that stuff was really going to pot when under ME, and things look generally tidier. As regards the scoreboard, I know me and Mr. Moss have had a little conversation about this already today. Well, I as you all know, I sit St Bobby Robson lower, and I'm kind of nearly 66, and I suppose my eyes are not brilliant as they were when I was 46. But
I'm 46, and I couldn't see when they had the teams on there. It was too small for me.
Yellow cards.
What about you, George?
Yeah, well, I was in N, so I was halfway line, and I couldn't read it with my 42-year-old eyes from there. So high definition, I suspect it is not. But yeah, I struggled with reading it from there.
Same as the others. I'm pretty near to Colin, and yeah, I struggled. Couldn't see it. I've got an eye test in the morning. I thought it was on Saturday.
Can you read the top line, please?
Yeah, what's the lowest line you can read?
Well, I know it's the first game, but I want to see him using that screen more to get the say 20 minutes from the end, from start of the game. They've got the music on the tannoy, and they've got some highlights on the screen. Now, get rid of the music. Let's have the commentary. They were showing obviously the 5-3 game when we beat them in the playoffs, and use that to sort of pump the atmosphere up. Another thing, I've said it before, Matt Phillips has said it before, Stephen Foster, brilliant on the radio, not for a PA. As Matt Phillips says, George, he's like someone at a garden fete.
Yeah, it's tricky because I have had I was saying that to my dad on Saturday, saying I'm just not as impressed with him. I thought Chandler was endlessly better.
And he just the new guy in the fan zone, George. Before
and that's what I thought he'd come in for. Honestly, I thought
young, he's enthusiastic. I'm thinking you need someone like that.
I thought he was going to do it, and I honestly did, because I think Fozzie just sucks the atmosphere out of the ground, and that's again, I'm sure he's lovely, and it turns out my dad knows him, so that wasn't an easy conversation to have with him when I just turned around and said, "Oh God, this guy." But also, I just he's not. He doesn't. You're right. He doesn't like build up the atmosphere the way that I would like for him or whoever's doing that role to do. And the new guy, when he said on Twitter that he'd come to the club, and he's obviously an Ipswich fan. I looked at some of his old.
You might be having him on here because I spoke to him on Instagram, and then we spoke to him in the fan zone, didn't we, Colin? So hopefully we'll get Dave on here, and then
I mean, enthusiasm is what he just oozes. Right?
He wants to represent him.
And another thing is, Rich, and I hardly ever moan about my football club. I find that difficult. But a point I'd like to make to Mark, Mr. Ashton, would be, and I know he'll step on it. I know he will, because he's that kind of person. He likes to get the job done. My suggestion to Mark would be, I bet you know what I'm going to say. That coup, when I left to go to the statue, that coup from the marquee was nearly touching the bloody Pioneer stand.
That's ridiculous. It's the biggest beer tent in the world, and it's got the smallest bar in the world in it.
Exactly. They've only got one side that they're using, George. You think you've got all that other area where I think they've got, I think Liz Edwards is in there from the Ipswich Heritage, and they've got a little stand there, but have a bar on the other side. You've got so much room to use. You can't be just having one bar, George, when you've got...
Were the bars better in the ground? Because I didn't get anything from the bars in the ground. But has the service improved at the bars in the ground?
It was quite quick.
Was it? Good. Well, that's good. And I think that's it, isn't it? We're at small steps. Like they're not going to fix everything overnight. And generally,
where I went down at half time, and two people in front of me. The first person I think got four pints, and the contactless chip and pin bit wasn't working. So the girl said, "Oh, just take them." It was getting towards the end of half time. There was still a queue, but they were working through it quickly. Next person went up.
You did just take them. Did you say just take them?
She said just take them. I'm probably going to get someone in trouble. And then take back to the next person. And it got to me, and I kind of dangled my card over, and it beeped and went through. I was like, everyone else got theirs for nothing ahead of me. But yeah, my payment went through, so I paid for mine. But but overall, it was much quicker, and the queues weren't as long. So that was an improvement. And they're making an effort, aren't they? They've changed the menu and
it's not all going to look. Rome wasn't built in a day. Phil Blundell says, "Love for stadium announcer." I've got a little bit of news anyway. Colin knows this as well. So the East Anglian Daily Times have got their gazebo outside the ground by the Sir Bobby Robson statue, which has been grating at me and quite a lot of other people because
and me, and me, Rich, and me.
Yeah. You've
And
got
me.
fans who are coming down there who are like Saturday. You might want your picture with the statue. You've got this gazebo in the background. So I've spoke to Dan Palfrey today and a lot of visiting fans as well, George and Lewis, who are wanting to come down there and have a picture. So hopefully the next game that will be moved. They've got the whole of that road now to use, George, because
they
it's
don't need to be that close.
off.
I've never noticed it.
Views are of their own and not of the network. Martin, you know that as well because you have the same view as me. So don't go trying to stitch me up. Anyway, back to the game, Colin. Back to the game. What were your takeaways from the game?
Well, I text several people today, and they would know who those people were. I look at it very much as like, I'm going to try and be as I've got Ian like in my head here, and he'd be saying, be as measured as you can, Dad, and I will be. A point that I'm going to sound a bit like Mick McCarthy here, I suppose, but no, they were a decentish side. I wouldn't say they were brilliant. I'd say they were a decentish side, probably be in the top six. At the end of the day, a point's a point. We move on. We go to FGR. And do I really expect to win that game? Yes, I do. Did I expect to win Saturday? Yes, I did, but probably not as much as I would do Saturday. So we go to FGR.
You think we're going to win every week? You're the most positive Town fan that I know. But going to Forest Green, this is a game
Saturday,
where,
Rich. I do.
Yeah, I put a tweet out today saying last season, right, we took 4. This is for all 3 of you and people in the chat. And I wonder how many points you think we're going to take. We took 4 points out of the 24 available against the promoted teams, right? Rotherham United took 24. MK Dons took 20. Now, we finished on 67 points last season. For me, that's an easy 20-point game. Starting on Saturday, we're going to Forest Green. No disrespect to them, but it's a village in the middle of nowhere. We should be rocking up there saying, right, this is the first of 8 games against these promoted teams, and we're going to win. And then when we play the next one, we're going to win. We should be taking maximum points out of these 8 games, and that's a 20-point swing for me straight away. Work on your corners. Saturday, we scored. This is how we can improve, and we can climb up this league.
You're absolutely right, Rich. It's in a lot of ways, it's just like Ipswich Town going to Plum and Risby and playing a game of football, Look, I read something the other day, and it's absolute fact. And what we've got to do, we've got to ram this right down their throats. I read the other day, in 1981, when we won the UEFA Cup, and we was runners-up in the First Division, / Premier League, and semi-finals the FA Cup, the very next season, Forest Green Rovers were in the FA Vase final. Think about it. Not the FA Trophy, the FA Vase. That's the tournament that Sudbury got to 3 finals in. Sudbury Town. Now, Forest Green Rovers, the year after we won the UEFA Cup, were in the FA Vase final the following year in 1982. You could not write that. You just couldn't, could you, Rich?
It's right what Jason Clayton's just said there, guys. He said we said the same against Cheltenham last year, and he was there. And I do agree with that, but I think we've already sort of touched on that. We're in a better place now than we were at the start of last season. Look, no disrespect to Forest Green, they are currently in the top 6, George.
Mm-hmm.
After one game. But what are you expecting? What are you expecting Saturday, and what are you expecting against the promoted teams? Do you think we can get 24 out of 24 points?
I expect us to do everything we can to win every game in the season. I'm not a fan of a point away here, there, or anywhere else is good enough. I'm not a fan of going to games thinking anything we get out of this game is good enough. I think any game we go to, we have to go to wanting, and if you're in the team, expecting to win. I will be disappointed if we don't win against Forest Green Rovers away. It won't be the end of the world because it'll be the second game of the season. But our approach to every game this season has to be to win that game. If we want to come in the top two, then that has to be what we do. We can't go anywhere and think, as a team, a point is enough here.
We need to start better.
Do you know what? Do you know what, George? I reckon that's the most sense I've heard anybody speak for a long while on here. That was 100% correct.
You might get past you before Christmas.
It's a bit long to put on a t-shirt.
I'll tell you what, George, I'll give you the perfect example of what you've just said. I was talking about the great man yesterday. The great man.
Yeah, brilliant. If you haven't watched it, anybody, hang on, Colin. If you haven't watched yesterday's show, do go back and watch the last 15 minutes because Colin had a fantastic tribute to Sir Bobby. It was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much, Rich, for that. I really appreciate that.
We loved it.
You know,
we loved it. And we love you.
Anyway, yeah, I love you, Rich, and you know that. But what I was going to say was, going on what George said, and it's very relevant, giving you the perfect example. So Bobby Robertson, and I remember one game in particular, and we're talking about the top flight here, when Liverpool were flying, Villa were flying, Forest were flying, you know, Man United were somewhere mid-table, you know. But even in the top flight, Sir Bobby always... I remember one game I went to with my best mate, John Steed, at the time. We went to Notts County. It's the first time I'd ever been at Meadow Lane. I stood up at open air end. I ain't open air anymore. It was then. Got pissed on. No, I weren't actually at the start of the season in September. I always remember it. And it just won the UEFA Cup. It was 82. Went up there. And I said to Stevie, I said, how do you reckon we'll get on today? You know, just been newly promoted off Notts County, you know, from the second division. I don't know, it could be a bit dodgy, Cole, you know. Yeah, we get 2 or 3 today, I reckon. We won 6-1. You know what I mean? Well, they did score a goal. We won 6-1. I mean, it was like a canter. But what I'm trying to say is, what I'm underlining what you said, George, Bobby always played to win. But, you know, whenever you went, maybe apart from maybe if you went to Anfield, he was always happy with a point at Anfield, like everybody was. But every other game, honestly, yeah, I agree with exactly what you said, George. You should always go to win. And I think Kieran will have that attitude this year, Rich. I really do.
I'm expecting us to go.
You can come away from a game, like you can come away from a game and be, given the circumstances in that game, we should be damn well lucky that we got a point because they missed a penalty or we had a player sent off or whatever it might be. But what I don't ever want to see at any level of football, and I talked to my son about this, I don't want at any level of football to go into a game thinking that anything other than a win is what you want to come out of this game with. Because what's the flipping point? Otherwise?
Well, that was a bit like what it was like under when we had Mick, wasn't it? You know, he'd always say, "Give me a point now," and I won't even bother getting on the bus. But I'm expecting going to the new
fucking wild.
Going to the new on Saturday, Colin. I'm expecting Town to go there, put down a marker, line in the sand. I'll go 3-0 Saturday. I think we're going to go there and we're going to show this division that we mean business this season, and there's going to be no pissing about.
I'm going to go for the score I went for on Saturday, Rich. I did text it to Melanie earlier tonight. Where's his mum? I'm going to go for the 1-3. 1-3. I'm going to go stay with me 3-1 on Saturday.
Get your first clean sheet, but like Lewis says. We ain't going to let many
It's 1-3, not 3-1. 1-3. Yeah, that'll do me.
Anyway,
Saturday.
We've got 2 more people, Colin, so we're going to have to drop you out. We're going to have to drop you out. He's gone. The goat there. He's
Colin.
I do think
still
come Saturday.
Go
on Saturday, it's all about how we start. So it's their first game at this level at home. If we start slowly and on the back foot, we're going to be in for a tough
big game for them, Lewis.
Afternoon. If we can get an early goal, that will change the whole mood inside the ground. They're going to have to try and come out, and you can see us getting. We've got the quality to get 2, 3, 4. But I think that first 20 minutes is absolutely key. agree with everything that you guys have said, but it's about how we start. We've got to come out and start on the front foot because, like I say, the crowd's going to be behind them. They're going to make it a tough place to come because that is their main weapon in terms of how they're going to stay up, is taking points off teams that aren't going to fancy going and playing there. And we've got to rise above that. And I think we will.
It's like Mike D says there, and I agree with this, about away from home, he's more confident. Can we deal with teams camping in their 18-yard box? They're not going to be able to do that. They're the home team. This is their biggest, probably their biggest game in their history they've ever had. You know, Colin was on about they were in the FA Vase, and now they've got Town, FA Cup winners. We've won the league. We've won the UEFA Cup. We could have bring in Lee Anderson. I think he might be on the Oh, he's in the kitchen today.
No. It's in my little office at home, or where me work computer is.
So Lee Evans, leading scorer. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, I said he'd start the season, and he has, isn't he? Hey, a lot of
Did you go somewhere and kick Dominic Ball in the shin?
Yeah, very.
I did. I headbutted him on the kneecap. Yeah. He's a big fan.
Good luck with that.
No, I mean, to be honest, the thing with Evans is, and what my thoughts were on a player that I won't mention anymore. You know, you have to have a certain player in the team that is there to recycle the ball, and that's what Evans does. And you've got to have balance to the team. You can't have a team full of fancy footballers. You can't have a team full of kickers. You've got to have a balance, and I think Evans brings that balance to the team, particularly when we're playing at home, when we're expected to see a lot of the ball, and teams are going to camp behind the ball. Now, someone like Ball, I would expect him to play maybe the odd away game. You know, we go away to Wickham. We're going to have the ball slug in our box a lot. He's going to give you extra physicality, something that you might need. So I go back to the thought of who's better than who. It's not about that. It's about who's better for the occasion. And I think you'll see Ball come in for games, and you'll see Evans drop out, and vice versa. And it'll be down to tactics. I think
if Ball's fit.
Pardon?
If Ball's fit, he plays every single week. He hasn't come here to be rotated and to sit on the bench. You're talking about a man here who's played 100 games for Queen's Park Rangers in the Championship over probably the last 3 seasons, Lee. And Lee Evans is a good player. I'm not saying he isn't. I know George isn't his biggest fan, but he's the backup as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but which player has come to which player have we signed that wants to come and sit on the bench? We haven't got that. That's the ethos that McKenna will install in the team. That's the way it's going to be. It's sitting everybody down and saying, look, we're going to rotate. We're going to rotate the forwards, and we'll rotate people in midfield.
I don't think I disagree with you. I don't think we rotate Morsey and Dominic Ball. It's like Carl Brooks has said there. He hasn't come here to be a bit part player. You need physicality in this league.
I've not said he will be. I've just said that he'll come in for the right types of games. You know, Evans, what did he do? He scored the goal. He had another one where he nearly scored again. But
they're two situations. As I said earlier, they're two situations from dead balls that I guarantee you Dominic Ball would have trained just as many times, taken just as many times in training, and be just as likely to get on the end of any of them. Why not finish them? But they're those set pieces, those set plays are team. You know this league. They're team plays. It's not Lee Evans wasn't alone scoring that goal. Yes, as I said earlier, it was a cracking finish, and he nearly did it again, and then he nearly scored with a good header. But you can't take 3 set plays out of a 90-minute game. The only thing he recycled on Saturday was giving the ball straight back to them.
I think in the first, you've got to remember he's been out for 6 months. He's not played hardly any time under McKenna. McKenna rates him. He said it. He's kept him at the club. I think he'll get better. Will he play the week? Well, of course he won't play every week, I don't think. But I think just to say that Ball's going to come in and it's going to be Ball and Morsey all season, I don't think that's right. Now, Ball could have scored the header. Now, Ball was good in the air and he scored a good goal against Queen's Park Rangers. So he adds a bit more to our set plays from being in the boxes, where Evans is the guy who's trying to take them. So if Evans isn't taking them, who's it going to be? Who's going to take?
Graham Tate for you, Lee, says McKenna could play all 3.
But yeah, absolutely. There could be times, particularly away from home. Absolutely. Yeah, there could be times where that happens, particularly in game. I think I would be surprised if all three of them would start, but I can definitely see a time in the game after an hour where all three are on the pitch. Absolutely. And he'll push Morsey a bit further forward, or he'll push Evans a bit further forward.
The thing with,
but yeah, so you know, he scored a cracking goal. He scored a cracking goal. But I just to say about the first game and everything was all right. I mentioned on Twitter, it's a bit of a groundhog day, wasn't it? Saturday was everything we expected under McKenna. Nothing's changed in terms of we dominate the ball, we look to score goals. As you said, Richard, are we going to score enough? Is that the only worry? But I agree what was said earlier. We're not going to concede many goals. No team's going to roll us over. And what George was saying about winning every game, well, that is the mentality. We can't fit anybody in this league. And I said last season we had the best, the best depth squad. Well, surely there's not going to be many teams better than what we've got this season. And you almost said it yesterday, Crunch. You almost said it, but I think you stopped yourself short of saying, who we've got coming off the bench and what we've got in reserve. Most teams aren't going to have that. I
totally agree. I didn't agree with you last season, but I agree with you now that you only have to look, Lee, on Saturday, who didn't even make the 18 to show how strong we are. And I'm not including Matt Penny in that, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, Edwards has still got to come. Come in.
I think he could really excel under McKenna, but I think at the minute it's a case of he's probably going to have to wait for an injury for him to get his chance. You'll probably see Edwards against Colchester next Tuesday, I thought, in the Cup, and probably the Papa Johns against Northampton. But I think at the minute, with what we saw from John Jules on Saturday, Lee, I think he's probably going to have to bide his time a little bit, Kyle Edwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to the substitutions and that, I mean, I always go back to what about rugby and about what the England head coach says about rugby. It's the finishers that win you the test matches in rugby, and with the extra substitutions that we now have in football, you can see us having finishers. And I know we talk about super subs and things like that, and we don't want players to be super subs, but whoever's rotated, whoever starts, you've got players that can come on now and really impact the game throughout the whole bench. You look at our bench and you think, well, they can come on and make a difference. I mean, on Saturday, we talked about Aladapo. He had the hard part of the game, didn't he? He had the first hour against some brute. I mean, that guy was a brute. But did you see Morsey give him a cuff? Morsey cuffed him when they had a bit of to do in the first half. I think it was the first half. They were obviously winding him up. He gave him a bit of his usual right hook in the chest off the ball, which was quite interesting to see. But they were trying to wind Morsey up. But he was a brute. But he needed another centre half either side of him, didn't he? So I don't think he would fit in our back to that we play two centre backs.
If you're a centre half for the opposition and you're thinking, right, I've done my job, and then you look over and you see Caden Jackson coming on, you see John Jules coming on, and they've both got pace to Burnley, you're thinking, blimey, how are we going to cope with this?
Yeah, and we almost played on the counter. It almost looked like we played on the counter attack, and we looked more dangerous when we played the ball in behind. We spun in, and we had JJ, and we had Burns down the right, and Jackson burning through the middle. We looked more of a threat when we got in behind. But I mean, Aluka would come on, and he sat that number 4 on his arse twice, didn't he? Same thing that he did to Down. So when you've got players like that coming on, you can see the class we got. And if you're saying that Bolton's going to be in the top 6, how many of their players we get in our team? One, the left-sided guy.
I'll take Affeline.
One player.
Good player.
The thing about the 5 subs we've not mentioned yet is we're talking about the 5 subs should suit us when we're trying to chase a game. And Saturday was a perfect example. I think we made 4 subs, all attacking subs, because I'd say Lee was more progressive going forward than Davis was able to be. Only time will tell as to what Davis is like going forward.
Lee said about Ladapo there, Lewis, the game had changed when...
Yeah, it opened up and it suited Greg Lee to go forward. But the other thing I think we need to think about as the season progresses, take Saturday in isolation. When we start to play Saturday, Tuesday, that's when the 5 subs could really start to benefit us, because if we can get in front in games, we're going to be tight, we're going to be tough to beat, we're going to keep the ball. We can start to rotate, use those 5 subs so that players can be rested for the Tuesday night. You know, if we get 2 goals up, 3 goals up, you might start to take Sammy Morsey off to give him a rest, bring Ball or Evans on. We've still got quality replacements, and we can look ahead to that Tuesday. So not just in the game itself, the 5 subs should benefit us, but also over the course of the season, because some squads they're not going to have that capacity to be able to start taking players off. And you'd like to think there will be games where we get in front by a goal, 2, maybe 3 goals. We can then start to rotate with 20 minutes to go and start to rest legs and hopefully not pick up as many injuries as a result of that, because, you know, touch wood, injuries have been okay to us so far, haven't they? So, you know, clearly there's something being done right, but it's a long old season.
Before you go, Lee, I've got a question here from Mike D in the chat about all well and good these players coming on, but we still need to create more players in the box. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, we've got a lot of players that will sit outside the box because we're trying to dominate the ball, aren't we? So when we're up against the last 15, we need players in. But I think the Morsey chance was there 3 or 4 players in the box, and that was on the break. To think that Morsey, in the 90th minute, after the running that he did, he managed to get up with Wes Burns or Jackson. I can't remember who was across the ball.
Yeah, Burns for that.
Burns.
But Jackson was there. JJ was there, wasn't he? And Morsey got there and arrived late. So for that chance, yeah, I think we did. But yeah, we do need to load the box a bit more, but we don't load it in the same way as, say, Wickham loads the box. So I think that's what we have to unlock. That's the key. I mean, if we could play on the counter-attack more, we would score more goals, I think, because we've got space to run into. But just going back to Lewis's point before I go, I agree about bring them when the season gets tough and we get to November, December, January. But we can't be 20 points adrift this time.
No,
that makes no difference, does it? So disappointed Saturday I was that we drew because we should have won the game. And going back to what was said earlier, I wasn't upset as in negative, but you can tell by the players and McKenna, the 3 points were there for us because we played really, really well. So just hope. But remember, under McKenna, 2 points a game almost got us into the top 6 when he took over. From when he took over. So if we have another whole season like we did when he came in, then we're going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah,
it's the first 10 games. If we're on 20 points or more after 10 games, there's your foundation. We never got that last year.
No, even 15, Lewis. What did we have after 10? We had 6.
Yeah.
Even double that and a couple more. But I mean, we'll be on at least 15 points after. We'll be on at least 15 points after 10 games. No question.
Right.
We're light years ahead of where we were last season.
Nice to see you, Lee, mate.
Yeah, guys.
See you soon, mate. Thank you.
See you soon, mate.
I think we got Mark coming in all the way from Ireland.
Well, lads, how are you doing? You all right?
How you doing, Mark?
All right, lads.
How's it over your end?
Raining today.
Raining?
It's
Hardly
so
rains. Hardly rains here ever. Hardly rains here.
It looked nice on Portman Road on Saturday, all right. It was raining in Dublin, so it looked nice where all you guys are.
When's your next trip over, Mark? When's your next trip over for a game?
I'll be over probably the end of September. I've got a few staff issues at the moment, taking holidays and got a wedding to go September, so I'll be over hopefully the
he's froze.
End of September, early October. Yeah, roll on. It's looking good so far. I don't have anything to worry about. I know.
Did you watch the game, Mark?
Obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you manage to watch
that?
Did you manage to watch the game on Saturday?
What I do, I listen to it, the games and work, and then I watch the extended highlights when I go home and watch whatever stuff that's there, on the TV, on the couch, as they say. So I only watch it from the TV view, So that's all I see. I'm not up and close and personal to see what you guys are lucky enough to see every week. But so far, so good. I'm well impressed with the purchases that McKenna bought during the summer. I think he's sort of identified all our weak areas. So hopefully we can progress now and score a few goals.
Do you think we need another striker, Mark?
Yeah, because if that happens to the new lad, the Rotherham lad up front, the Lapo, is Caden Jackson going to score the goals we need? I don't think so. I wish they'll have the greatest success in the world, but I can't say. I can say probably actually Chaplin's probably going to bang in a few more, but we'll see. We need to score more from midfield. We have already started this week by scoring one. So yeah.
Lee says in the chat they're listening to the game whilst cutting people's hair.
Yeah.
Don't get too excited with them scissors.
And as you could imagine, I was telling everyone it's going to be a great season and giving the old spiel as usual. And then fucking penalty to Bolton. I went, here we go again. It seems to be, I think it's the only barbershop in Ireland where all the clients can get to listen to Ipswich Town League One football every Saturday exclusively live.
Well, hopefully there'll be some blue shirts in Ireland then, like there was at Portman Road on Saturday. If they come
listen,
into
there's people who take a passing interest now, as they say. They wouldn't have done that before. But yeah, I'm looking forward to when I'll get to see again. I'll listen to Forest Green at the weekend. There's no excuse whatsoever not beating them. These teams are coming up. I mean, it was embarrassing. So we were the laughing stock of League One last season when we couldn't beat Morecambe. We couldn't beat.
We didn't beat any of them promoted teams last season. We took 4 points.
We can't. This is not in a negative way, but we can't be standing for that anymore. I'm not saying he's going to lose the job or anything like that if we lose the Forest Green, but it's sort of unacceptable now. If we are to get promoted, we have to beat those teams, and they shouldn't be on the same page. There's not one player from Forest Green that would make our bloody bench even. I doubt it. Not that I know any of them, but I'd be quite sure that they're not any good.
Mike D says he hopes that your scissors are sharper than our strike force. Well, we've only played one game, Mike, so hopefully. What are you expecting, Mark, this season for Town?
Honestly, I expect us to carry on where we sort of left off under McKenna. I think we'll do all right. I expect automatic promotion because I think that Bolton and Sheffield Wednesday are the only teams who will be in up the business end of the season with us in the mix. And if that's the level that we've seen on Saturday of Bolton, I don't think we'll be worried about too many other sides, if I'm honest with you. Of course, that's what we said last year, and we got the ups and downs. And I know League One is all about being consistent. We just have to be consistent because it's our inconsistency that keeps. We have League One players, and that itself inconsistent. That's why they're not playing at a higher level. But I do think that collectively we should be okay this year. I really do. I think I'll be a miracle if we're not. I think it'll be a more than a miracle if we're playing League One football next year. I just can't see it happening. Not with the current players we have.
Well, one player who won't be playing for Town, James Warren Elmer in the chat there, Burson Selina. Are you sad that he's not going to be back at Portman Road this season, or are you glad it's all over?
I'm sad. I'm glad it's all over. Honestly, I think he's a super player. You can't take that away. But he's at that level. He's League One. He's not going to. He didn't shine in League One last season. I know the arguments are that no one got on the end of his crosses and all that stuff, and I do understand that. I do understand all that. He's a fantastic player. His ball control, everything super. But I think it's just time we have to move on and say thanks, but no thanks. And we just move on with them. The team can't be about a one-trick pony either, So I do think that collectively the team in McKenna's putting together now should be okay for the remainder of the season. Fingers crossed.
George, Lewis, sad that Selina's not going to be back at Portman Road?
No, I think we could do with this. It was a player of his quality, but I think it's just got to the point where it's become a bit farcical. And I'd worry that it's gone on so long and become so obvious that it's about money that I'd be concerned about what the impact that would have around the rest of the team, because they'd be concerned about what must have happened to get him in at this point. If I'm being brutally honest about the situation, it feels like a bit of a power play going over to Turkey and then turning around and saying, actually, no, I don't really fancy it, and hoping that we'd come back with something more than we'd already offered him, and he'd turn down, and we obviously just didn't. So my biggest hope at the moment is that we've already moved on to targets new.
Lewis?
He's always going to bring a bit of excitement. You know, when he gets the ball, gets people up, doesn't it? Do we have a player that does that currently? Did we have a player that did that on Saturday? I think possibly not. So I absolutely agree with George that I think we need to have someone of that ilk. The only one who may is Kyle Edwards, but there's still question marks around him, isn't there? So I think we need to go out and get a number 10. It is a shame to miss out on him, but...
So you want another? You want a striker and a 10?
Yeah.
Where are you fitting him in with all these players we've got?
Well, where would we fit Selena in?
Aluko all day long for me.
Well, there you go. You've answered your own question.
Yeah. We still need, as we've said before, and we've said outside of the shows, Rich, we still need that central striker that's going to play between the posts, the physical presence. And then I just think for certain games, we just need that little bit of magic to unlock things when we've got a lot of the ball. You know, someone that's going to do something a bit unpredictable. I have a bit of a question mark around Kyle Edwards because at the beginning of the summer, Kieran McKenna said he saw him potentially as a right wing back. Didn't really play there during the friendlies, and I know they're only friendlies, but he played in the more attacking positions. I kind of look at it as, are we having Kyle Edwards as a number 10? Okay, in which case I think he's still got some convincing to do. Is he a project, using George's word, as a right wing back? In which case, if we're losing Matt Penny on the left, which I get, do we need KVY, Wes Burns and Kyle Edwards? You could then make an argument to KVY can go alongside Matt Penny, and we bring in a number 10 alongside Aluko, Chaplin and Harness. You know, there's a couple of question marks still around players, but I think we need number 10. I think we need a striker, and for me, that would be us done after that.
That's probably a conversation for another day, Mark. You know, the squad's trimming. I've got, before I let you go, so we done the next 4 games we done yesterday. How many points?
Yeah,
Martin thought I'd get. I'm going to go up to the end of August. So this is for all 3 of you, for everyone in the chat. Forest Green Rovers away, Milton Keynes Dons home, Burton, Shrewsbury away, Barnsley at home. 15 points up for grabs there. How many points do you think we're going to take? And are we still going to be unbeaten at the end of August? I'll go with you first, Mark.
I think we'll get 13 points. I think we'll draw against Barnsley. And I think James Norwood will score the equaliser, probably in the 90th minute, as usual. No. And nobody will be surprised one iota. And don't say he as well. Nobody will be surprised. So, that's probably the only one I can see. I don't think MK Dons aren't the same team they were after losing such quality players. I can't see us. I should have said I can't see us having problems, but we shouldn't have problems beating Shrewsbury and Bolton Albion. Although they always put it up to us, Bolton Albion, they're a tough side under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, but we should have enough. Again, we should. This is not rocket science. If we take our chances, we'll win. I know every team says that, but we actually make the chances, and we just do not take them. And that's to go back to the inconsistency. If we're consistent enough, we'll beat teams more often than not 2 or 3-0. Because, defensively, we're really good.
Lewis, how many points and will we be unbeaten at the end of August?
Going to be optimistic. Saw nothing on Saturday to suggest we can't. So, yes, we will still be unbeaten. I've got the same points as Mark, 13. But I actually think we will drop points away at Shrewsbury. I think that they are going to be a tough team to beat. I was quite impressed with some of their summer signings. Steve Cottrell is a bit of a head case at times, but he can certainly get a team well organised. I see us winning Saturday, winning away at Burton, and I think we'll beat MK Dons and Barnsley, partly because of the time of year we're playing them, and they've both had quite a few changes to their teams. But yeah, I think Shrewsbury for me, and probably most people won't agree, but that's the toughest game on paper for me.
So 13 for you, 13 for Mark. What about you, George? And will we?
I'm going to slightly fewer. I think 11. I think 3 wins and 2 draws from those 5. So yeah, I think we'll be unbeaten, but I see us dropping some points early on in the season. just while we get up to speed based on Saturday. It's difficult to pick out where exactly, but I think we should turn over Forest Green. I would like to think. A draw with Barnsley, I can totally see happening with Norwood popping up, as everyone seems to think is inevitable. Do you know what? I'm going to go Shrewsbury away. I think is a good shout for.
They've made some good signings. They've made some good signings, guys. Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
We drew there obviously last season 1-1. I think Cottrell's a very good manager, Lewis. I know he is a bit sort of eccentric sometimes.
He sets a team up, doesn't he? He's a character, but he's the sort of manager that if he was manager of your team, I think you'd like him. But he can wind people up, can't he? Sometimes.
But I think we should, looking at them games, really, if we've got aspirations of getting anywhere sort of up the top of this division mark, we should be unbeaten come August. And it'd be interesting to see where everyone thinks that our first defeat might come.
We should be. I remember the first year we were down in League One and we didn't lose until we played Accrington Stanley, and I laughed my head off at that one. I remember thinking at the time, I said, there's no way these are going to take any points off us.
We've got them early. We have got them early. Mark away in just early September we go there. So they're our bogey team. So that'll be interesting to see how, after last season, when obviously Mr. Morsey will be going back there after his little altercation, and Andy Holt giving it the big one on the social. So that's a good pointer for Accrington Stanley when we go there in September to see what we've learned from last season.
That's a mental block, Accrington Stanley.
Yeah.
Hopefully Forest Green doesn't. I had to Google Forest Green to see where it was today. I didn't have a clue where Forest Green was.
But they've all lost players, haven't they? Every single one of those teams has lost key players, whereas we haven't. And I think that should stand us in good stead. And it should be the foundation for a good start to the season. You know, every single one of those teams has lost key men. Even Accrington have lost Colby Bishop and Sykes at the back. And they're rebuilding, which I think gets some funny results.
I think Colby Bishop would have been a good signing for Town, you know. He's done well in this league. I'm not saying he's like, a lot of people might think, oh, yeah, but he's not a big name. But I think he'll score goals in this league. He's a big unit. And I think he's the type of player, exactly what we need up front. That's something a little bit different.
We need something. We need someone who's experienced at this level, don't we?
I still think we'll get Hurst. Might not be this week, but I still think we'll get Hurst.
We might have to wait towards the end
of the transfer window close?
I think it's the end of August, isn't it? Might be first week in September. So you've probably got another 5 weeks. So I think between now and there, we've probably got enough to get through to the end of August, guys. But I wouldn't want to be going after that with the same strikers, because you're only an injury away. Freddie Ladapo getting injured and you're having to play. Who's your central striker then? Caden Jackson? Not for me in a one. Tyrese John Jules, still pretty untested. I know he impressed on Saturday, but would you be on him?
So you remember this time last year when we were all delighted, we looked to see we had 2 players for every position, and we thought we'd be covered if everyone was injured. Now, if we think the same way, if X, Y, and Z player was injured, we'd be starting to panic, and yet we've improved the team a bit, you know.
James Warren Elmers asked a question about Hurst. He did it for Portsmouth second half of last season, but I'm open to suggestions of someone else that can kind of play that role. A lot of people have said Jerry Yates. I think he'd be good, but I don't know. I think it's a tough call. There's not that many out there that I can think of. But then again,
Jerry Yates is a different player than your Hurst, Lewis, because he's your smaller, quicker striker. So if I was going for the 2, I like Jerry Yates. I think he's proven that he can do it in this league. He got 20 odd goals when Blackpool got out, but I think you need that physicality.
Is he not 6 foot then? I thought he was possibly bigger than he is.
6'3". Can someone Google Jerry Yates? Come on, Nunny, have a look. See how tall he is.
But you have probably seen him more than I've seen him, so I stand corrected on that. I thought he was a bit more physical.
Yeah, I don't think he's like someone. The type of player who would fit well in this team is someone like your Daryl Murphy.
Yeah.
You know,
unfortunately, I don't know where he is now. I think he's playing for Waterford United.
Is he back at Waterford now? He's probably.
I think so. He was last year. I can't remember now.
Pushing.
There's a lot of players come over from Ireland, though, isn't there, Mark, this year? A lot of teams are signing players from the League of Ireland.
Players, yeah. The League of Ireland has improved a lot. We had a good Sligo Rovers beat Motherwell the other night in the UEFA or the Europa Conference. Yeah, Shamrock Rovers, they're still in with a shout of the Europa League. Yeah, just at the lower League One level, I'll probably be shot for saying that.
5'9". Jerry H is 5'9". So
I was going to say, according to Wikipedia, he's 5'7", 175. So I think he'd probably prefer 5'9". So we'll take
in that case, then Jerry Yates.
He's not getting a game for Blackpool, is he not?
I don't know if he was playing Saturday. I'm not sure, but there's been a little bit of talk around him. But the main talk, I think, is George Hurst. But before I let you go, Mark, score prediction Saturday at Forest Green.
4-0.
God, get in.
Why not?
Confidence.
It's Forest Green Rovers are playing, not bloody Blackburn Rovers or
totally
Melchester Rovers. You might as well be playing.
Totally agree. Anyway, cheers, Mark. Hopefully to see you
Cheers,
soon,
Mark.
mate.
Cheers, Mark.
Any other business, guys, before we close up? We've done an hour and a half here, just sort of chattering away. None?
No, nothing from me, mate.
Lewis?
No other business. Thank you very much.
Season ticket giveaway is open for Milton Keynes Dons. Anyone watching wants to come to the Milton Keynes Dons game on, is it the 13th, guys? Saturday the 13th of August, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
My head. Direct message me, proof of subscription, and you're in the draw. I think we've got about 17, 18 people in already. And then Gov will draw out on the matchday preview show on the Wednesday before. And hopefully this time, guys, he will get it correct and not draw out two names when it's a pair of tickets. But thanks for everyone who's getting involved in the chat tonight. It's, really, really lively show. Colin's gone 3-1. Jason Clan's gone, has he said 2-2? James Biggs 3-1. Lee Anderson 2-0 Town. Nunny?
Yeah, 2-0. I'll go with Lee.
Lewis?
3-0.
Yeah, I'm going 3-0. I'm looking forward to getting down there. Hopefully finding a pub before, getting a meat pie. I'm not looking forward to vegan sausage rolls or chips and gravy. I've heard it's not very nice down there, George. It's yeah, but it'll be this will be the most interesting ground that we go to this season. You know, you've had your standard grounds that we've been to before, your Accrington and Stanleys, your Morecambes, and we don't like going to places like this. Hopefully, this is going to be the last season, but I think there's about 1,200, 1,300 going down this Saturday, so good following for Town. And I'm expecting
most interesting ground until Wembley.
Well, is that going to be in the Pizza Cup or is it going to be in the playoffs? Or both?
Pizza Cup and promotion.
Anyway, we will be back on Wednesday. Hopefully, Gov won't require me Wednesday. 8:30, matchday preview show. I think Amy's back Thursday night with the away days guides, Forest Green, and then me, Matt, hopefully if he's not asleep, Matt Phillips and Martin will be back with the press conference react show on Friday. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you to Nunny. Thank you to Lewis. Thank you for everyone in the chat. We've had a great show and we will see you all on Wednesday.
Cheers all.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I